Did you know that the combined wealth of members of Congress exceeds $4.5 billion? As citizens watch from the sidelines, struggling to make ends meet, members of Congress live lives of luxury, thriving in ways that make the idea of public service sound almost like a punchline. How is it that while the average American earns around $60,000 a year, many of our lawmakers, starting from six-figure salaries, somehow end up as multimillionaires? The numbers don't lie, but what they reveal is unsettling. It's not just about salaries or pensions. There's a hidden web of power, influence, and money that operates behind the scenes where the real action happens.
If that happens, members of Congress would still collect paychecks as other government workers go without.
Let's start with some hard facts. The base salary for a member of Congress is $174,000 annually. That's nearly 3 times what the typical American household earns. And if you're in a leadership position, such as the Speaker of the House, that figure jumps to $239,000 a year. But for many politicians, their official salary is just a sliver of their total wealth. Take Nancy Pelosi, for instance, whose net worth is estimated to exceed $115 million, placing her in the top 0.1% of Americans. To put it in perspective, if she'd somehow managed to save every penny of her $239,000 salary without ever spending a dime, it would still take her over 480 years to reach that kind of wealth. She's no immortal, so the question becomes, where is all that money coming from? One answer lies in investments. A 2021 report revealed that nearly 60% of members of Congress were actively trading stocks. Nancy Pelosi, for example, invested tens of millions of dollars in real estate, electronics, and tech stocks, with more than $15 million alone going into companies like Apple. Her stock trading has been remarkably profitable, with returns in some years far exceeding the average market gains. For instance, her investments in 2020 and 2021 saw returns up to 6 times higher than the S&P 500 average. If you were to invest in the stock market, you'd be lucky to see a 10% return in a good year. For some members of Congress, 60, 80, or even 100% returns are not unusual. It's almost as if they knew something the rest of us didn't or couldn't. That suspicion grows stronger when we consider other cases of suspicious trading. In 2020, shortly after closed-door briefings on the emerging COVID-19 crisis, 4 U.S. senators sold off significant shares in companies that would soon see dramatic downturns due to the pandemic. Richard Burr, for instance, offloaded between $628,000 and $1.7 million in stocks just days after attending a private Senate briefing on the virus's threat. The market crashed soon after, and Burr avoided substantial losses. The Department of Justice investigated, but no charges were filed. The pattern repeats itself. A 2011 study found that U.S. senators' stock portfolios outperformed the market by 12% annually on average, raising serious questions about the ethical boundaries between their public service and private gain. It's not just a few isolated cases either. A 5-month investigation by Business Insider in 2021 uncovered that at least 49 members of Congress and nearly 200 senior staffers had violated a law meant to stop insider trading. The law, known as the Stock Act, was intended to curb trading based on non-public information, but the investigation revealed numerous violations without any real penalties. Even when fines are issued, they are often as little as $200. Hardly a deterrent when hundreds of thousands or even millions could be made through a timely trade. The web of wealth doesn't end with stocks. Lobbying plays a crucial role in how members of Congress grow their fortunes. In 2021, lobbying expenditures in the United States hit $3.7 billion. Companies aren't spending that kind of money for nothing. For every dollar invested in lobbying, a company can expect returns that sometimes exceed 760 times the amount spent. For instance, studies have shown that firms that engage in heavy lobbying tend to see significantly higher profitability and favorable legislation that can boost their stock prices by up to 6%. Pharmaceutical companies, energy giants, And defense contractors are the top spenders in lobbying, funneling millions to secure the votes and support they need from lawmakers.
The cycle of money and influence doesn't just end when politicians leave office. In fact, for many, it's just the beginning of an even more lucrative career. Around 60% of former US senators and 40% of former House members become lobbyists after leaving office. For example, former House Speaker John Boehner, who resigned in 2015, later joined a lobbying firm where his salary was estimated to be between $3 and $4 million annually, about 17 times his congressional salary. This revolving door between public service and private lobbying ensures that former lawmakers can leverage their connections to influence policies that benefit the industries willing to pay for their services.
The story doesn't end with Nancy Pelosi. There are many other members of Congress who have used questionable tactics to grow their wealth. One prominent example is Dianne Feinstein, who served as a U.S. Senator from California for over 30 years until her passing in 2023. Feinstein's net worth was estimated at around $88 million, much of which was tied to her husband, Richard Burr, who was a wealthy investment banker and venture capitalist. Feinstein faced criticism when her husband's company won numerous government contracts during her time in office, worth hundreds of millions of dollars. In one case, Blum's firm was awarded a $985 million contract to sell post office properties, a move that raised eyebrows given Feinstein's powerful position in the Senate. Another notable figure is Mitch McConnell, the longtime Republican Senate leader from Kentucky. McConnell's wealth has grown substantially during his political career, with his net worth estimated to be around $35 million in 2022. Much of his wealth came from investments in stocks and mutual funds, as well as a large inheritance from his wife, Elaine Chao's family. Chao, who served as Secretary of Transportation under President Trump, has extensive business ties to Chinese shipping companies that have benefited from favorable trade policies. Between 2004 and 2018, McConnell's wealth surged by more than 2,500%, from just over $2 million to $35 million. For comparison, during that same period, the median American household wealth barely increased by 20%. Then there's former Congressman Darrell Issa, who represented California's 50th congressional district. Issa is considered one of the wealthiest members of Congress, with an estimated net worth of $250 million. His fortune largely came from the sale of his car alarm company, Directed Electronics, before he entered politics. However, during his time in Congress, Issa continued to grow his wealth through savvy real estate deals and investments that often seem to benefit from federal policies. In 2008, for instance, as the financial crisis unfolded, Issa moved to protect his investments by voting against a bill to tighten regulations on the credit card industry, while at the same time holding significant investments in financial services companies. His real estate holdings grew as well. At one point, Issa owned properties worth over $60 million, which continued to appreciate due to favorable tax policies he supported. The gap becomes even more apparent when considering the broader wealth trends in America. While the average net worth of a U.S. senator has increased by 114% over the past decade, the median household net worth for Americans increased by less than 20%. In 2019, a staggering 48% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency expense without borrowing money or selling something. Yet the average member of Congress had a net worth of $1.5 million, with some members holding tens or even hundreds of millions. The revolving door between Congress and lobbying firms exacerbates these inequalities. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, who served from 1979 to 1999, saw his net worth skyrocket after leaving office. He founded a consulting firm, which earned over $55 million from healthcare companies that sought to influence public policy. In just the first year after leaving Congress, Gingrich's firm received $1.6 million from a company wanting to influence Medicare reforms, an issue Gingrich had dealt with during his political career. Senator John Kerry, who served as Secretary of State under President Obama, was another high-profile politician whose financial dealings raised concerns. His net worth is estimated at over $250 million. much of it due to his wife, Teresa Heinz, heir to the Heinz ketchup fortune. However, Kerry faced questions about his investments, including a significant sum held in trusts and offshore accounts. During his time in the Senate, Kerry supported tax policies that benefited multinational corporations, raising concerns about potential conflicts of interest.
Ultimately, the numbers paint a stark picture. With 60% of Congress engaged in stock trading, 40% of former members becoming lobbyists, and the average congressional net worth exceeding $1 million, there is a clear pattern of wealth accumulation that far outpaces the average American. At the same time, 63% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, struggling to pay bills while their elected representatives grow richer. It begs the question, when lawmakers have so much at stake personally, can they truly serve the public interest?